Secretary Julian Castro was called the breakout star of the first Democratic presidential debate by the New York Times. Google searches of his name have gone up 2,400% since last night.
Wow.
And he joins us live now from Miami. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be with y'all. Great to be back.
So welcome back to the show. Have you had any sleep?
I have not. You know, these bags under my eyes are well earned.
So is it safe to say you're happy that people are listening, that they heard you last night?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and first of all, I want to give y'all credit on The View. Y'all are one of the very few programs that has been faithful about making sure that all of the different candidates, you know, the ones that are polling at the very top and ones that have not been polling as high, have a chance to come on the show and to talk to the audience and let people know what they're about. And so kudos to y'all for that. But as you know, I mean, media tend to put a spotlight on just a few candidates. And so I knew that coming into the debate, I needed to introduce myself to a lot of voters who may not have heard of me and to tell them what I stand for and what I'd like to do. And I think I did that last night.
You did.
Hi, Julian. This is Sunny. I thought that you had so many drop-the-mic moments last night. I'm a fan. But immigration, I thought, was one of the biggest moments that you had last night. You spoke so poignantly about the migrants that tragically drowned, Oscar and his daughter, Valeria. But you also made the most direct attack of the night against another candidate, your fellow Texan, Beto O'Rourke. And what you were arguing about was that you separated yourself by calling to decriminalize border crossings. Was that a calculated attack?
Well, it was certainly something that I wanted to bring up because the law that I mentioned yesterday, Section 1325 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, this is the exact law that the Trump administration uses to incarcerate a migrant when migrant parent, when they come over the border, and then separate them from their little children. And you know, it wasn't always like this. We used to actually treat that when somebody came over the border as a civil violation instead of a criminal one. So in my immigration plan, I've been saying, hey, let's go back to the way that we used to treat this and end family separation. That's the only way to end it. And my plan is different from Congressman O'Rourke's plan. You know, I've called to terminate that section so we guarantee that family separations won't happen again. And he has refused to agree to that. Fortunately, Senator Warren, Senator Booker, Governor Inslee, who were also on the stage, agree with me, and several other candidates agree with me. And so I think the American people can see that we can still have a system where people have to show up to court. You know, this does not mean that we're legalizing people coming across the border. But what it means is that we would end family separation, which I believe we need to do because it's a cruel practice.
Hi, Mr. Castro. This is Meghan McCain. I hear what you're saying, but if you decriminalize, aren't you calling for open borders? And how can you enforce any rules if there are no repercussions for doing something illegal?
Well, there would be repercussions. Somebody is still in the court system. They're still subject to be deported if that's the determination of the court. So it's just the difference between somebody charged with a misdemeanor crime and somebody charged with a civil violation. At the end of the day, they're still in that civil court process, and they may well be deported. So this is not open borders. That's a right-wing talking point. Not only that, as y'all know, we have 654 miles of fencing on the border.
I don't think it's a right-wing talking point when you're saying that someone who's doing something illegal, that there shouldn't be ramifications, which at a certain point, if you become a general election candidate against Trump, you're going to have to win over people like how
how can we possibly say that we have open borders when we have 654 miles of fencing, we have thousands of personnel at the border, we have planes, we have boats, we have helicopters, we have guns, we have security cameras. We have states like my home state of Texas that put an extra $800 million into border security. We can maintain a secure border and people are still subject to the law, but what I don't believe we should do is criminalize desperation. We should criminalize crime. And the point that I made last night was, if we're concerned about human trafficking or drug trafficking, we already have laws that criminalize that and hold people accountable for that. That's separate and apart from Section 1325 of that act.
Okay.
Can I just ask one more thing? Your argument, though, with Beto last night, you were criticizing him for not supporting your plan to decriminalize illegal immigration. This is the moment that got so much attention. So I think I'm just confused about what the difference is between you and Beto then.
Well, he would not, under his immigration plan, he would keep Section 1325 in place. And if you keep that in place, then the ability to separate those families stays in place. In other words, you're still going to have family separation because they're going to incarcerate the parents and separate them from their children.
Okay. So this is Joy Behar talking right now. You know, I thought that it was so civilized last night, you know, especially compared to the way the Republican primary was back in the day, where Trump was calling people names and they were just awful. And I was wondering, how come you guys were so civilized last night, and why didn't you go after Trump more? You didn't even go after Biden or Warren. You didn't go after, they're the front runners. You didn't go after Trump. You were very, very gentlemanly-like, even the women. So what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, when I go out there, one of the questions that people ask is, how are you going to beat Donald Trump? Can you stand up to Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I think that I showed last night that I can hold my own, that I can go into a setting like that and make my point, do it in a way that is not mean, but that is effective. And, you know, if I'm the Democratic nominee and I go into a debate with Donald Trump, that's what I'm going to do to Donald Trump. We're not going to beat Donald Trump by trying to be Donald Trump. What I want to do is to paint a strong, compelling vision for the future of our country that speaks directly to the voter and his or her family. What are we going to do about health care? What are we going to do about education?
Yeah.
What are we going to do about job opportunities? That's what I tried to convey.
I agree with that, but your base would like to hear you take on Trump, in my opinion. Take him on and say how horrible he is. We want to hear it.
Well, I did say in my closing statement that we're going to make sure that we get to say adios to Donald Trump in January 2021.
That's right. Julian, this is Sunny. And my view is keep it classy. Keep it classy. All right. Another moment for you was you spoke about needing reproductive justice in this country versus reproductive freedom. And not just for women, but you also said for the trans community. I think that nuance was lost. Some people did not understand it. Can you explain the distinction?
Yes, that there are trans men, women who have become men, who are transgender, who have reproductive rights. And what I was saying was that we need to recognize everybody's reproductive rights. And also, when I said that I want reproductive justice, I want a person to be able to exercise those reproductive rights regardless of how much money they have or don't have. And so I would support repealing the Hyde Amendment so that no matter how much money you have or don't have, you're able to exercise those reproductive rights.
Okay. Thanks to former HUD Secretary Julian Castro. We'll be right back. Get some rest, man.